Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch discussion, where we'll be telling you our top 10 favourite movies of 2025. I'm your host, Asher Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
My top 10 are the best top 10.
Could be, some could say. Well, we have to deliver it before people can give their opinions on whether it actually is or not. How hard was it to come up with the top, narrow down to 10 this year?
Well, I think I had like 15 or 16. I think around that many. But I'll be honest, because whenever we do top 10 lists for stuff or whatever, I just put everything in, and then I count like, oh, I've got like 15, 16, and then you do the whole like, okay, I gotta take 6 off. And sometimes like it's like 3 or 4 would be easy, and then you're like, oh, fine. Now this year, honestly, I just went 6, not. Oh, cool. And then you move them around to their correct placement.
I think it's pretty much the same, Just kind of have like 15 or something, and then you just have to order them kindly. I mean, it kind of helps that we just did our best of Explosion Networks voting beforehand, so
yeah, I think there's
already pre-shortened the list.
Yeah, and I think since this is the second year we did top 30, it's easier. Like, I think there's only one thing on my list that isn't in our top 30. Whereas previous years when we only did top 10, quite often there would be shit in our list that we didn't make it to our best of list. But I think when you do best 30, it sort of covers both. I'd be surprised. Like, do you have anything in your list that you don't think is on the top 30?
I think there may be one thing, but it's because I didn't watch it till after.
Yeah, okay. And not something I've watched and put in either.
I don't think so, because I had to add it to. I
Okay.
just rearranged the voting I did. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I had to type the movie in. So, all right, let's kick it off. Dylan, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Begonia, the Yorgos Lanthimos film starring Emma Stone, in which she may or may not play an alien, and Jesse Plemons and Aidan Dilbis kidnap her because Jesse Plemons' character is saving the world. It's a very weird movie, which is sort of the custom for Emma Stone and Yorgos, I guess
Yeah.
at this point. And because we watched the trailers, and the trailers were a lot of fun. I had one of you sit there and watch a trailer like, what is this movie? Where are we going with it? And then when you watch it for the most time, you're like, where are we going with it? But I really enjoyed the payoff. And there's something about the way it's got this really like interesting way it's shot. There's lots of like sort of these wide angle lenses and stuff like that. And the music as well is really off-putting, and I put it in the top. I did the top 5 original movie scores article, and I put it in that list as well. And the funny thing about that is just that apparently for this one, he didn't give any notes to the composer apart from I think it was like Emma B's alien spaceship or something, and then said make the music off that. So you get this really interesting soundscape to the whole thing as well. But yeah, I mean, Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone just giving wild performances as they sort of come to do, and makes for a great time.
All right. My number 10 is Predator Badlands.
Wow.
Obviously, the latest Predator film directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who I've been a long fan of from his days doing the Totally Rad show, like being a pundit like us, to being allowed to pretty much take the reins and do whatever he wants with this massive franchise, long-running franchise. The 9th entry in this franchise, Google Play keeps telling me whenever I bring up my Google TV, which I assume is including all the Alien vs. Predators, because that's the only way.
Alien, yeah, that'd be
that's the only way. But yeah, this time following Dex, a Predator. I keep Yutja, is it? Yutja?
Yutai. However you say it, yeah.
Yes. Who goes to a planet to do his, coming of age hunt, and comes across a android that's been ripped in half, and they have a buddy cop found family story. Despite all the things on the planet wanting to kill them. Lots of fun, really inventive, surprising amount of heart. just not so much a surprise, but surprise in that they got away with it, I guess, more than anything.
How weird is it that
All
you're
the
picking
quality.
a Predator movie for your top 10?
Yeah, I mean, this year is crazy. This year, my list this year wouldn't
Big horror
expect it.
fan now. Big horror fan.
It's almost a number 9.
My number 9 is Splitsville. Michael Angelo Covino film, which stars himself alongside Kyle Marvin, Dakota Johnson, and Ada Adrona, in which the film starts with Kyle Marvin's character breaking up with Adria Adriano's character, and then he runs to his friend's house, which is played by Covino, and his partner there, Dakota Johnson. And then when he gets there, he has like a huge meltdown and then spends the night there and discovers that the two of them are in an open relationship. And then that leads to all sorts of weird stuff and relationship issues that follow suit. This has one of the funniest fight scenes I have ever watched, or not ever, maybe, but definitely one of the funniest, just straight up ridiculous fight scenes between two characters I've watched in such a long time. And also, I'm confident to say that out of everything I watched with a cinema audience last year, the most laughter I ever heard across a full theater was during this fight scene. So that always stood out to me. I mean, it's a what do we call it? A dramedy. So it's got some as we go forward, these characters go through the story of discovering what love and relationship means to them in the new age, 2020 whatever's we're doing it. And yeah, I really enjoyed the four main cast members. They all have their own little perks and quirks to them, and yeah, it was a surprise entry for one of my favorite films I watched last year.
Right? Yeah. My number 9 is K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm gonna say I called this one early. There was a point, I don't know how it came up, but we went through the slate of Sony animation projects that were coming up, and I thought K-pop Demon Hunters, on name alone, sounded interesting. And it proved to be the case. Fantastically animated, just top to bottom banger songs. The fact that almost the entire soundtrack is ranked on the Billboard Top 100 is crazy. Because there's always some weaker songs or some basic stuff, but everything in this is fantastic and very listenable. And it's a good story as well. On top of that, really enjoyable, cool, gets you in the feelings, but also has you laughing at times. And there's some really solid action choreography in there as well. Everything you would kind of want from an animated movie, rewatchable, re-listenable. Which is why it's been such a success, I think. So that's my number 9. Tell me what's number 8.
My number 8 was a more recent entry for me because I only caught up while I was on our holidays. But it is The Long Walk, which I never got to watch in the cinema, but caught up on that. Directed by Francis Lawrence, script by script by someone else, but of course based on the book by the novella. I think it's a novella by Stephen King, starring Cooper Hoffman, David Johnson, and a bunch of other people. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the book, but the concept alone, sounds, Hunger Games or whatever esque of just a competition where a bunch of people are dying. But I think that the thing that stands out about this movie is just the fact that it is such a dark concept of a bunch of kids putting themselves up to walk until they're the last one left, and they'll be the last one left because everyone else will have by that point been unable to keep walking. And if you're unable to keep walking, someone shoots you, you die. It's only one winner, and I think they start with 50 something people in it, and the movie is just a bunch of people walking for the most part, but it's just the acting and the chemistry between all the characters, and it's not even what's really said about the world outside of the walk, because you don't need to know. You just know it's shit, and you know something's happened, and it sort of weirdly seems like something that, again, it's just in our 2025, 2026, you're like, I don't know, seems like some shit like that could happen nowadays. And by the time you get to the end, it's a very, that last like 10, 15 minutes is just wild journey to go through with those characters after you spent that much time with them by that point. And really, really good.
My number 8 is Ne Zha 2. Highest grossing movie of the year. Obviously, it kind of helped that I'd watched Ne Zha, the original film, like quite a little bit before it. But it is one of the best examples of what is possible with animation, because they go to a scale that is unrivaled in anything pretty much I've seen in animated form. They're able to do things you can only achieve by not paying your workers a hell of a lot and having a lot of them, because they're all in China and made to draw all the little tiny, flying warriors in the background. But it's really interesting. I think a lot of it translates language or region or nationality, and it's this kind of universal story about a kid trying to make his parents proud, but also with all this Chinese mythology and demons and dragons and betrayal, all this kind of stuff thrown on top. Incredible epic fight scenes. Yeah, just there is so much on the screen. It's worth your money to go see it. I don't know. I assume with A24 doing the re-release, it's much easier to find than it would have been otherwise. But yeah, Ne Zha 2, my number 8. Dylan, what is your number 7?
Number 7 for me is Weapons, the Zach Cregger follow-up to Barbarian, starring a huge cast, but includes Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Aiden Ehrenreich. I don't know, they're the three, Benedict Wong. The plot is a bunch of kids at 3-something or whatever the time in the morning just get up and run Naruto style out their houses and disappear, and then they're never to be seen. But what follows is a really interesting genre take, different sort of way for a horror thriller film to play out, because it's all jumps across different characters. Like you start with Julia Garner's character. From hers, you go to Josh Brolin, and every time we sort of switch characters, we're rewinding time a bit. You're seeing the events play out from different angles until you finally get to the last set of characters, and the story all starts to come to one of the most satisfying conclusions to a story that from last year for me. The final like 10 minutes is just glorious, I think, and also has one of the best performances from Amy Madigan in. I mean, it's so funny to talk about her now because they hid her character, all in the trailers and stuff like that. But I mean, at this point, like it's slight spoilers, but she plays the bad guy, I guess, and gives just an absolute stellar performance as Aunt Gladys, and it's worth watching just for her alone.
All right. My number 7, One Battle After Another.
What the fuck?
The latest film by Paul Thomas Anderson. A film that may end up being higher on my list, but I only finished watching it like 3-4 hours ago.
Wait, was it you HBO Max it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously starring Leonardo DiCaprio as a former revolutionist who has now turned into a drug-addled father, whose daughter gets taken by a former army person who may or may not have had to be the father of his daughter. That's very broad. There's so many different storylines kind of interweaving and going on at the same time. All these crazy sequences, really tense, really interestingly shot. So many different interesting characters, from fucking Benicio del Toro or Regina Hall or whatever Sean Penn's doing, all kind of interceding at the same time. Very fascinating movie. I think I just need more time to sit on it, but it definitely, I don't know if it lived up to the hype, but maybe it's also been hyped up so much that it's hard for anything to deliver to that. But I'm sure we'll be talking about this film again. Dylan, what is your number 6?
Number 6 for me is Bring Her Back, the Filippo brothers follow up to Talk to Me. A lot darker take. Like Talk to Me was sort of a horror film, but it was playful and had these, teenage characters having fun and a good time with what was going on at the time. Bring It Back is just completely falls into the lovely A24 character of depression horror, where everyone is sad and horrible and life's terrible, which is so funny considering the people that make it. I'm like, how the fuck do they write this shit when they're just such silly dudes? But there's that thing about always like comedians or being the saddest people, whatever, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, Sally Hawkins sort of in this one, she plays someone who adopts these two kids. And as the film unfolds, you start to learn that she's sort of holding this deep sadness within her about the loss of her own child and the lengths in which she is willing to go to hold on to bring that person back would grows to be rather unsettling is, I guess, my synopsis for the film. But contained one of the most it contains the most unsettling thing I think I watched in the cinema last year. And not even because it was like overly gross, but I mean it's gross, but it's just fucking weird. And yeah, just all these really great. I mean, Sally Hawkins also just playing a role that I don't think I've really seen her do. Was the standout, and then the main kid is also just. I don't know. I hope they got therapy after filming this, to be honest. But yeah, bring it back.
All right. My number 6, The Long Walk. Like you said, directed by Francis Lawrence. I think, it's the performances that make this movie shine. And, Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson, fantastic as the leads, but all the supporting cast as well, like Christopher Plummer, Ben Wang, the kid from Jojo Rabbit, all kind of like intersecting in this interesting story of all these kids having to walk until one of them stops. And I've seen people complain that it's a little bit unrealistic, as if they wouldn't be supporting each other to keep going. There would be a bit of warning, being glad the other people are failing and getting killed off.
Really, that's weird. I'm like, that's a complaint considering they have to die to win. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I've seen skepticism from someone who is usually a bit of an optimist. But I was completely riveted by the film, and it's just them walking. I mean, there's all this. I mean, there's a few moments of tension where they're like, I mean, there's a lot of tension throughout it, but like, there's no crazy action sequences or anything like that. It's just a bunch of kids walking, and then 49 failing to keep up. So, really fascinating film. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's kind of cements for me Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson as two actors to very, very much keep an eye on. Dylan, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Of course, it's on Netflix. I'm so glad I got to watch it on the big screen because, fuck watching this at home for the first time. Some of the fuck watching One Bell After Another.
I'm sorry.
What are we doing? Of course, stars Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster / the creature, whatever we call him. Christoph Waltz is also in this as basically playing. I don't know if I think he's a new character or maybe changed character, but from any other version I've seen of Frankenstein. But he basically plays the guy who Victor goes to get like funding for his whole project, his monster project, because he, renting out or buying a castle and building a big telescope thing with a lightning rod, whatever else, costs money, surprisingly. Also, being able to find all the body parts, also thing. Mia Goth is also in this, playing 2 roles because she loves doing that in horror films. She plays a role at the start you would never recognize her because she's got like prosthetics on, and plays another character later. So, and also Charles Dance is in this, and he's being an absolute shit. And I enjoyed seeing him getting yelled at because Charles Dance is doing his very British accent, being a fuckhead. It's very beautiful shot. Guillermo just does his sort of regular thing, and I'm not even saying that in a bad way, of which like he just in all his movies, of course, the monsters are never the monsters, and that's no different here with this. And Jacob Elordi, especially in the second half of the film, where you get to see where the spoilers, I guess, slight spoilers, if for somehow don't know any concept of Frankenstein story, but when the creature escapes, and we spend some time with him, then that's like probably just some of the most sad, heartbreaking sort of stuff of the movie. And Jacob Elordi just, I mean, he had a really good year last year, and I think, but this is like really cementing him as a going to put him up there. I think creep him up there of the Aussie actors in Hollywood very quickly. Well, I think he's already there, but yeah.
All right. My number 5 is Wake Up Dead Man, the latest Benoit Blanc film. Obviously starring Donald Craig, but mostly starring Josh O'Connor as a priest, who is implicated in the murder of his co-priest, and kind of, Benoit Blanc comes in to try and solve the mystery. I think it's very fascinating film. I think, I don't know if I love it more than the other two, but it's definitely up there. Just its discussions on faith, and I think weirdly the most interesting scenes are the ones that don't revolve around the actual case itself, whether it's the first time they interact and talk about the church and the architecture and how it makes it feel, or when Josh O'Connor takes a phone call and kind of starts to falls back into priest mode. I think that's all really special. And then the mystery kind of playing out was really fantastic, and like kind of perfectly reframed everything that came before. That makes you want to go back and like try and see how it all fits together. I mean, great ensemble cast. I know I've seen complaints about people being underutilized, which seems crazy because they just need to be utilized as much as needed for the film. Just because they're a reasonably big star doesn't mean they need to have a big starring role, But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's one of his more interesting looking films. May we look forward to many more Benoit Blanc films in the future. Dylan, what is your number 4?
One of the more, I think, probably not going to be a lot of other people's list, but made mine at number 4 is The Life of Chuck. Second Stephen King thing on my list, but the script was written by and directed by Mike Flanagan. Not a Stephen King horror movie. It falls into his category of magical, weird other things that aren't horror, but I don't even know how to describe this movie. I don't even know. It is such an odd film that pretty much starts with how do you say it?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Thank you. His character, and you're introduced to him and Karen Gillan's character and some other people like Matthew Lillard live next to him, and they're driving around and they always just keep seeing this billboard with Tom Hiddleston's face on it saying, thank God for good luck, Chuck, and all this. And they're always like wondering who this Chuck guy is. And from there, the movie just gets weird, and we jump around. The movie's sort of broken into 3 parts. You have the start, and then there's a middle part that's heavily Tom Hiddleston's character, and then you sort of have the end part, which is heavy with Jacob Tremblay and Mark Hamill in the back end of it. How it all comes together is this. I think I probably said this when I talked about it on here already, but I think it's either just a movie that works for somebody but doesn't work for you. But at least how by time it ended, the message I got from it, I loved. I thought it was fantastic. It has these fantastic sequences, and in particular, Tom Hiddleston has a major dance musical number about halfway through the movie, which was sensational. But yeah, I think just thematically, it worked for me, and I can't really explain why without completely spoiling it. But I would highly suggest watching it. And just get the fuck off your phone and zone in and enjoy it.
All right. This is definitely where it gets interesting. My number 4 is a movie that may very much have made my list of the 2004. If we, play by the rules that came out of what we watched that year. Conclave. Oscar nominated this year, finally was released here in Australia early January. The story of a bunch of priests voting for a new pope, or a bunch of cardinals, I guess, and kind of giving you this glimpse into this unknown, unseen world, and into the political machinations of this group of cardinals and like the different, sects within the cardinals of like various traditionalists or ones cardinals who want to be more progressive or left-leaning and leaning and that kind of stuff. Very fascinating. And then Ray Fiennes, fantastic performance. great monologues about faith and what it means to be a servant of God and all this kind of stuff, and then also these different mysteries around different characters kind of playing out. Really fantastic film, utterly riveting. Stuck with me, even though it's nearly been probably 14 months that I've seen it, and still high on my list. So Conclave is my number 4. Dylan, what's your number 3?
Top 3 time. Number 3 for me, 28 Years Later. So the Danny Boyle, Alex Garland film, of course, returning to the franchise that they kicked off together some 30 years ago. I don't know, fucking whatever.
It's not 28. I think it's like 20. 24.
It's like early 2000s or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this time we're sort of thrust back into the world, and we're introduced to Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, his son played by Alfie Williams, Jodie Comer playing the mother. We meet Ralph Fiennes in this one, of course, who recently returned for the sequel as like the main cast member. And yeah, we're just reintroduced, I think, to this world. The sort of updated the world. That very quickly just reestablishes what the rules are past 28 weeks later and says, it's been contained to this certain area, the rest of the world's fine, and all this sort of stuff. But then, I mean, much like, I guess, the best zombie movies are, it's like zombies are here, but it's not really the point. It's about the people. It's about the characters. And by the end of this movie, it was like, you sit there finishing going, it's this whole movie is just sort of about the relationships between mothers and sons, ultimately, among other things. But that was sort of the main one that you wouldn't have picked coming into it based on the trailers and stuff. So very visually interesting, of course, shooting it with the 26 million iPhones on a weird rig and all these other Danny Boyle isms that he loves. To. Really great soundtrack. Stand it.
Dylan, 28 Years Later is also my number 3.
Yeah. What a world we live in.
What a world we live in.
A horror movie in your top 3. What do we do? What's going on?
Craziness. I mean, utterly fantastic. Really interestingly shot. We're taking zombies in kind of this interesting direction with like the introduction of these alpha zombies who, are utterly ruthless and relentless and take a gazillion arrows to take them out. Some absolutely thrilling sequences, whether it's like the fucking running along the narrow straight back to the village with the alpha chasing after them, or, I mean, pretty much anything involving an alpha was pretty hectic. But then it also kind of becomes this story about a kid wanting to do whatever he can to save his mum, going to great lengths, risking it all to try have an opportunity to get his mum back. Great performances. Jodie Comer, Ray Fiennes, Alfie Williams, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and the guy who plays the alpha. Just great and just filled with crazy visuals. I don't think I've ever seen it on ossuary like that ever before. I'm glad it's only in the world of 20 years later.
It's real too, I think. Like they built it.
I'm sure they did, but people aren't building ossuaries in
no, but
like that.
Like I'm pretty sure behind the scenes, like they show it. I'm like, it's wild that they actually someone built that. Like I know it's fake, but like it's still crazy.
Well, they needed it for the second film.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. Dylan, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Sinners, the Ryan Coogler written and directed film, his first foray into horror, in which he takes on the vampire genre. But I guess much like the past film, it's a vampire film that's not really about vampires, which makes it sort of this. It's it's a generational exploration of black music and how that affects and travels through time, and it's a movie about eating up other people's cultures, I guess, in the most literal sense. But yeah, I mean, similar to 28 Days Later, it's scary when it needs to be, but also just got all these really interesting thematic ideas. Really sensational dual performance from Michael B. Jordan playing twins. Jack O'Connell playing the lead vampire just does this great little Irish dance and song sequence number as well that's really good. I mean, there's several like really great musical sequences in it, and I think that's the other thing about this with People Project. I'm like, this movie is sort of musical, like so it's got several straight up musical numbers throughout it. Yeah, it's very good, and I think you're gonna say it's your number 2.
I am going to say it's my number 2, which is crazy.
Two
that of my
horror
top three-
movies on your top 3. You're a changed man.
What's become of me? Yeah, I mean, when you do horror movies like this on a scale like this, tackling, an era and with Michael B. Jordan playing dual roles and an incredible kid like Miles Canton, like being introduced and like lots of interesting elements. This kind of very, very diverse world and story. How could you not want to enjoy that? I think the way they kind of chose to go into the lore of vampires was very interesting and like very old school. Like you have to be allowed in, and the kind of hive-mindedness of all the vampires in this is kind of interesting as well. Yeah, but I mean, it's strangely it's the blues music that kind of takes center stage, especially the musical sequence that we see. They kind of steals the show. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable, working at a high level, especially Ludwig Göransson doing the score. Ryan Coogler cementing himself as one of the best directors going today. So, all right, Dylan, what was your number 1 movie?
My number 1 movie of 2025 was One Small Beer After Another, baby. Best t-shirt I've ever gotten in ages. So One Battle After Another, I watched the week it came out here in Launceston, loved it. Was like, that's fantastic. Was in Melbourne the next week, dragged Kieran to go watch it in IMAX. Rewatched it again as soon as it hit HBO Max. Got to pick up that 4K to watch it again. I could watch it again tonight if I wanted. I adore the movie. I think it's absolutely sensational. It is so fun. It is so full of just interesting characters that you don't learn everything about, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone is like the best acting of last year. Leonardo DiCaprio, probably, I nearly say it's his, I think, possibly my favorite performance he's ever done. And it's just maybe because it's so not Leo.
Against type, yeah.
Yeah, it's very against type for him. And he has such fun with it. And he does I think he does such a good job too in that, like I call it like the prologue, the first half hour prologue. Like playing that sort of younger version of the Bob, or before he's Bob, but the member of the French 75, and you get to see all that play out with Tiana Taylor's character, who just owns every single second she's on screen as the leader of the group. And then once you sort of go ahead and you get Sean Penn just creating this whole character with a stick up his ass as he walks and twitches, and just the little moments like him hopping in the elevator, pulling out the comb, and all these little just grunts he does and stuff like that. I mean, it's one of the most like sort of just best performed bad guy performances I've seen. I don't know, possibly ever. Like there's just so much mannerisms and little things he adds to that character that makes it so hateable. But and it's funny because the movie's just like, obviously it doesn't beat you over the head with its politics. It's just there. It's like, cut camera to immigration camp. We start on an immigration camp, and it feels, Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't really do modern day movies, prefers to usually do them in the past and like period pieces and stuff like that. But now he's done one in current day, and it feels very current day. I think without like really even having to explain why. The whole escape sequence as soon as Benicio gets into the movie, that whole like just going through him trying to charge it, like I'm not trying to spoil the whole movie, but fucking I can picture it like back of my hand at this point, just him running around with that fucking phone charger going for it. It's like, Bob, we got to go, man, I need to charge my phone. Like all this, like, and when I rewatched it, you're just like watching him, like Leo run through the house and try and plug it in so many different places and gets like slightly frustrated. There's a moment where he goes through there when he's introduced to the baby and he gives it a little fist pump, which I didn't notice on the first time watching it. So there's all these little like moments I just pick up as it goes through the phone call and everything. And then when you get to the end of the movie, as I think I said when I talked about it the first time, just one of the best, I think, thrilling car chase sequences. That, to be honest, watching on IMAX made me feel a bit wheezy, because just the going up and down of the roads,
hills,
and and I just love that sequence. I think it's just beautiful. Like it's just the up down. It's the continuous battle. It's the you one step forward, one step back, but you got to keep going, sort of thing. And the ending of the movie, I just think is. I just thought the ending of the movie was very powerful, just as the message is like you have a hero who the hero doesn't really do anything, but all he does is to keep fighting. And I think that's sort of the point, and the way it ends with what's her name? I don't forget.
Infinity.
Yeah, whatever her last name is. I feel bad now. Fucking forgot what her last name is. Oh no! But she's just got a cool. She's got a cool first name. That's the easy part to remember.
Memorable.
Yeah, Chase Infinity. Sorry, yeah, last name. Yeah, obviously the end of the movie, especially with hers, where she cements herself as this really breakout star, but yeah, just the way the movie ends with her character, I thought was super powerful message. I think to be sending out in the world, especially with what's going on, especially in US. So yeah, I love it. It's great.
My number one film of 2025, Superman.
Oh, we both did a t-shirt thing. Good job.
Uncoordinated. Just probably won't be repeated again. Yeah, it delivered everything that I wanted from a Superman film. Obviously, we'd been doing a rewatch beforehand and kind of going through the history of the character. And as someone who kind of loved an era of Superman's run, like comic book run, there wasn't any movie that quite captured what I think the comic book version of Superman is, and that's what this movie did. It re-established a Superman who cares about other people and is hopeful, and even though he is an alien, he's all about humanity. Feel like just a good boy from Kansas. David Cornsweet, who I called ages ago, turned out to be, yes, a very good Superman. Rachel Brosnahan, a perfect foil for him, is Lois Lane. I loved all their extended talking scenes, which might be better than some of the action sequences, not because the action sequences are bad or in any way, but because they show so much about the characters and their relationship. Nicholas Hoult is brilliant as his version of Lex Luthor, the most comics books accurate version, who's like believes is the smartest person. He's humanity's savior, and is desperately trying to take down Superman, behind the master behind everything. And then you got Krypto, like being a dog, superpowered dog, and acting the way you would expect a superpowered dog to. And it just feels like a full lived-in world already. The full DC world already established within one film, with the Justice League showing up, a mystery freak being probably scene stealing, and being a far more interesting character than probably people expected going in. So, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe hopeful, happy, and excited for the future of this DCU that James Gunn is quickly establishing. So yeah. All right, Dylan, do you have some honorable mentions?
Deleted all of them.
Okay, cool.
I just locked it in at my 10s, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Let's end the. Sorry.
Check out the top 30 list for honorable mentions.
They're all in there.
They're all in there.
Yeah. So you head over to explosionnetwork.com/best of 2025.
Yep.
And you'll find all of our best of 2035 content. Let us know what your top 10 movies of 2025 were by finding us on social media, by going to explosionnetwork.com/follow. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars or tell people about our show. And if you want to help us out in other ways, especially with the aforementioned website, head over to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.